ahead and roll right into our next availability. We're now joined by the driver of the number 7 Junior Motorsports Chevrolet, Justin Allgaier. We'll go ahead and roll straight into questions for this one. If you have a question for Justin, please raise your hand. We'll get a mic to you. We'll come back to Holly up here, and then we'll go to Cooper over.
Hi, Justin.
Hello.
Holly Kane with the NASCAR wire service. Sorry. What I want to ask you, we actually just spoke to Joey about this, but I imagine good feels coming back to Phoenix, considering the last time here you were celebrating, and also you've won here. You know, you bring that into it. But if you could just kind of talk about arriving back here and how it's felt.
Well, first of all, it feels great to get back to Phoenix. I mean, you know, the way this place ended last year for me, just sitting up here and the sights, the sounds, all of it, Dale running through here, hitting that door frame with a flag, right? Like all those things those were special moments. But the one thing I have to laugh at here is you're still humbled by parking outside and walking through the tunnel to come back in here. And if it'd give me some time to walk through the tunnel and just really just reminisce about last year. I mean, I've been coming here for a long time. One of my first starts was here in 2008 in the Xfinity Series. And I've loved this place since that day. And it's, you know, I remember as a kid just watching this racetrack. I mean, especially when everybody was pitted off the backstretch or what was now the front stretch and the opening and all that. And, you know, there's things about this racetrack that have just felt so important to me over time. And to get back here not even a year later, but 6 months later, 3 months later, whatever it is, it's been special. It really has been. I'm looking forward to getting on track. I'm hoping that it's better than last spring. I would take more of a last fall outcome than last spring, but either way, we had fast race cars last year, so I'm excited to get back on track.
Go ahead, Cooper.
Cooper Burns, Cronkite News. You kind of just talked about the spring race last year. Is there any sort of extra motivation for you in the race tomorrow for the spring race, considering what happened last year, or is it just kind of the same old, same old?
I think it's same old in the fact of we show up every week with the idea that, number one, we're going to bring a race car that's capable of winning. But number two, you know, that these races can be unpredictable like that. I mean, I think about that race, and then I think about the championship weekend as a whole. You know, I'm hoping for a little less drama than the championship weekend. I mean, it finished out well, but you know, we had a lot of it. Catherine said something, though, that is so important, is that anything that's worth having is worth fighting for or working for. And that's this place. I mean, this racing as a whole, right? But really this place, I mean, it just seems like even when this place beats you down, you still love it and you still want to keep going after race wins and you know, good finishes here. And I would like to win again here for my guys, just because last year I feel like we should have won 2 races here and we didn't win either one of them. One of which we walked out here with a championship, but I don't know that that's like I kind of wanted to win the race and the championship. But I would love to win again for them, just because I know how important it is. I know, you know, how great of a tone it sets for the rest of the season, especially too. This is your first kind of traditional oval, if you will. So, you know, I think that there's a lot of stress, a lot of pressure that goes into that. But I also know that there's 37 others that they're going to be doing the same thing. You know, and we saw some cars last fall that were really strong here. New drivers in different cars. I think you know, anything can and will happen, and I think that's what makes this place so much fun.
Any more questions for Justin? We'll come with Lee, and then we'll go to Cole.
Lee Spencer, Sirius XM NASCAR Radio and CatchFence.com. The one thing that stuck in my mind last year about winning the championship was just the resilience of the number 7 team. What is it about what you've been able to build there over the course of your tenure at JRM? Yeah,
I mean, it's funny with our team. While there has been turnover, I would say 2 years ago, and this would be the 3rd year, we made kind of the biggest shakeup, right, in changing kind of everybody from top down. I had such a great time coming in because I had consistency when I started at Junior Motorsports. The 7 team that I was on was the same team that worked on Regan Smith's team, and they had this cohesiveness, and they were just really good at what they did. Jason Burdett was a great leader in that regard and in that group, and they had built a team around themselves that really functioned no matter kind of who the driver was. And I got to jump into that and see that from the 1,000-foot view from overhead, and then also see it from ground level and understand why it worked. Also probably understood some of the weaknesses that we had as a race team because of it, but really saw why it worked. Flash forward, we make this big change at Junior Motorsports, and from the top down we change, and I went after somebody that I knew that could take what I knew would be good and go even further with it, right? And Jim Pullman has been that guy. I mean, he is insanely good at what he does, and he's a details guy. And those of you that have been around the sport, you know how important the details are, right? And the reason why there are good crew chiefs, why there's good drivers, why there's good mechanics, pit crews, whoever, people like you guys in the media, it's about the details. And I think that for me, having Jim as that guy and building a team around him has really helped me to kind of build off of. And we have a notebook that is strong. I mean, when you have 4 cars, 5th car part-time, your notebook grows every week, and you're able to learn and grow and just feel like you're doing all the right things when you show up at the racetrack. And that's been super helpful. When you have consistency at the racetrack as a driver, it makes life so much easier, and we've had that, and we have that right now. So, that we haven't had as good of finishes as I would like in 2025, but at the same time, we've had speed all the races, and this is a place that I feel like we can kind of recenter ourselves and go back after it.
Go to Cole.
Cole Cusimano, Arizona Republic. Justin, this season you got 2 new teammates in Connor and Carson. I know we're only 3 races in, but I'm just curious what it's been like working with them and what's kind of surprised you about them so far.
Well, I mean, I think last year having both of them run, part-time and run a few races has been great. I think when you could integrate them into kind of the daily life of our race shop and the flow, whether that be the Monday morning meetings or whether that be, being in the simulator and kind of all collectively working towards a common goal, I think that was huge. Both of those guys are insanely talented. If you would have put Carson running the fastest lap at a road course on my bingo card, I probably would have told you you're crazy. So last week I thought was interesting that those two were going head to head, and unfortunately I think the right front they flat spotted the right front on Carson's car, but I think that was going to be a battle down to the wire, which I didn't expect, I guess, in some ways. But I think that both of them have excelled. One of the things that I like about both of them is their work ethic. Carson still goes to the late model shop and works the late model, and then he goes home and works on his own late model team for his family team. I don't know that he knows anything but working on race cars, which is awesome to see, because I feel like nowadays that is very much the opposite of what we see on a regular basis. And so, I hope for both of them that they both are learning what they want to learn. They're seeing things. Catherine talked about it. I mean, some of these racetracks you're going to, you don't know where credentials is at. You've never been to these places. You don't know, where to park, how to get in the racetrack. Like, those are all things that some of these guys are learning for the first time. And I think that it makes some of these race weekends even more difficult. And they're both excelling at that in a big way. So, really proud of them. Sammy's done a great job this year. And I just feel like as a whole, I'm really the only old guy over there. But I feel like we have a good race team that has a lot of cohesiveness, and that's really all you can ask for.
Go to Dustin, then we'll go to Chris in the back.
Dustin Long, NBC Sports. As you've gained experience and your teammates have gotten younger, what has the process been like, or how have you learned when to step in and help them with something and when to leave them alone and let them figure it out on their own unless they come to ask you?
I don't know that I have a good answer on that, because everybody's a little bit different. I think every circumstance is a little bit different. How I would do things is Well, I would say Karsten and I had that conversation at the airport, waiting to get on the bus. Like, I felt bad for him. I've been there and I've done it. At the same time, you're going for a win, and you're gonna make those mistakes. And it's really, I think in this sport, it's not the mistakes, right? It's not what mistakes you make. It's how you come back from it. On the flip side of that, though, Connor and I had contact on the racetrack, and he texted me in Victory Lane telling me, what happened, why it happened, and I thought that was kind of funny. does it fix my day? No, probably not. But at the same time, the fact that he realized it and said what he said in the text message, I think kind of summed it all up, right? We're all going to make mistakes. I don't care how much experience you got, you're going to make mistakes. So, I think that my big thing is like I feel like just based on the conversations we have, I have a very different outlook on how to race, what happens on a race weekend than they do, right? Very different. Theirs isn't wrong, especially in today's day and time with the way that the racing is. Like, I'm probably way more on the conservative side of things than they are. But on the same point, that's just how I grew up racing, and obviously not how they've grown up racing. I think they're going to be great in this sport. I think they're going to do big things. I think both of them have the opportunity to be future Cup champions, right? So they're going to, or all three of them, I guess, really, if you want to include Sammy. I mean, I don't, it's funny, Sammy's still young, but when you have two, I don't even know age-wise how Sammy and Carson, I think, are the same age, right? Sammy's younger? Sammy's younger than Carson. So I guess because the other two are new that we put them in that lump them into there. But I just feel like if any driver, I don't care if it's our teammates, if any driver comes over and asks my opinion, I'm going to tell them, because I had good people in this sport that when I came in that were an open book and helped me any way that they possibly could and told me their view on life. And whether I agreed with it or not, it didn't matter. I think sometimes having just somebody tell you what they're thinking, and then you can pick out of it what you think is applicable to yourself or not. And so for me, we've got great conversation. Sometimes you just got to go back to work and just wait and see how it plays out.
We'll wrap up with Chris.
Chris Wilner, MRN. Justin, we talk, every year this spring race of how different it is compared to the fall. What are the challenges that you guys face walking away from this weekend and thinking, okay, I think we've got something for the fall, or obviously things are going to change? Obviously the weather's going to be different, this track changes, but what's the biggest challenge when you build that notebook, for this weekend when we come back in the fall?
Well, I think right now I need to get with Carson and go see if I can buy a boat from Bass Pro. The way that it's looking at the moment. The biggest thing I think is the weather, right? The weather in the spring can be hot, it can be sunny, it can be cool, it can be rainy. It can be all sorts of different things. Typically when we come back here in the fall, it's pretty warm, right? And you're still kind of in that summer out here. I know that it's really not summer, but I don't think the weather's ever really that bad out here, right? I would say that last year we saw it. Stuff changed significantly over the course of the season. Setups, cars, all these things are changing. And it's funny because we unloaded our backup car with exactly what we ran in the spring, and I thought it was pretty good. So as much as stuff changed, I think that sometimes it's really easy to get caught up in flavor of the week and trick of the week and setup wise. I mean, we're constantly involved, and engineers are crazy smart and way smarter than I'll ever be, and they're always coming up with new stuff. And I feel like sometimes we get caught up in that, and sometimes just what works. And for us, we had a really good race car in the fall, and hopefully we can do that same thing here in the spring. I know we made a few changes just to try, right? Because obviously you can't just not try something, but we tried some things, and we'll see how it plays out. But again, I feel like I have such an amazing group around me that even when you come with the same thing, you're still making your stuff better, behind the scenes on all the little stuff that you do.
All right. Now we'll close out with Gabe.
Hey, what's up, Justin? Gabe McDonald from Fox Charlotte. You're heading into a lot of more normal ovals. We've seen a lot of different racing so far, but you got Vegas coming up, place where you've had a little bit of success, still working on getting that elusive win. What's kind of stands out about that track, and you looking forward to going there next week?
Yeah, I mean, I think this whole schedule here of these next few, 3, 4, 5 races is actually really cool. Threw me off at the beginning of the year because of the way that the schedule played out and the what races we went to in order. But, I think when you come here, this is the first kind of short track, and then you go to Vegas, first kind of mile and a half, then you go Homestead, I guess, after that, right? I think that's the next one, which is not your typical mile and a half. So, I think, like you said, we've been good at Vegas. We've been good here. We've been good at Vegas. And this whole West Coast, we used to go to California in this swing as well. And we always seem to really do well out here. And I think that What's interesting is in the years past, you've never really been able to make an adjustment to your car or to your setups or to anything until after the West Coast swing is over. Because we leave our haulers out here, we're running cars back and forth. So anything that you're learning over the next few weeks, especially into Vegas, I feel like you have to use a little bit with a grain of salt, right? Yes, we're learning, and if you come out of the box and you're really good, you can go back to the shop and you can build on that. But if you come to these first 5 races and you're maybe not exactly where you want to be on the ovals, especially when you get to Vegas, then you kind of say, okay, now I have to go back home and reset. You have a short week, but you still are on the East Coast. And so I think that, as teams, this West Coast swing, you get through the end of the West Coast swing, and that's when you really start to say, okay, where are we at? And you can evaluate yourself then. Because after the first 3 races that we had, I don't know that you can really evaluate your season on those first 3. And then you come here, which is great because it's short track, but we're not going to go to another short track like this for a while, right? Go to Martinsville, but it's really not like this. So I think that Vegas is a great measuring stick, and then from there you just kind of go and see what you got. But I'm excited. I think the weather's supposed to be chilly out there next week too. It's cold in Vegas, so very odd for these first few races. But I guess last year we had jackets on in Vegas, so maybe it was cold. I just don't remember it. It'll be good in Homestead. There you go. We're all holding out hope that the weather. Who would have ever thought we'd come to Phoenix and have crappy weather? But I've been rained out here before, I guess, so I can't say much.
All right, Justin. Well, thanks for coming in today. Good luck
Thanks, guys.
tomorrow.